Welcome to Live, Life-Inspired Views for Every Day. My name is Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul. 2 weeks ago, after listening to this podcast, my good friend Chad Angel, a former colleague and now a school counselor in Janesville, Iowa, sent me this poem. It's from the podcast Live, inspired by John O'Leary. It's entitled The Cold Within by James Patrick Kinney, and it goes like this. 6 humans trapped by happenstance in dark and bitter cold. Each possessed a stick of wood, or so the story told. Their dying fire in need of logs, but the first one held hers back. For of the faces around the fire, she noticed one was black. The next one looked across the way, saw one not of his church, and could not bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. The third one sat in tattered clothes. He gave his coat a hitch. Why should his log be put to use to warm the idle rich? The rich man just sat back and thought of wealth he had in store, and keeping all that he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. The black man's face bespoke revenge as the fire passed from his sight, for he saw in his stick of wood a chance to spite the white. And the last man of this forlorn group did not accept for gain. Giving just to those who gave was how he played the game. Their sticks held tight in death's stilled hands was proof enough of sin. They did not die from cold without. They died from cold within. John O'Leary wrote after the poem, It's time to not only take full responsibility for our lives, but to recognize the calling to serve as our brothers and sisters' keepers. It's time to throw our wood on the fire. In these divisive times, I'm reminded of something I read many years ago. The passage predicted that the United States would not be destroyed by an enemy invasion, but rather it would be destroyed from within. We see the makings of the fulfillment of that prediction today. But I believe it does not have to end that way. Just as one candle can destroy total darkness, the flicker of love and forgiveness, acceptance and reconciliation, faith and hope can shatter the hate and bitterness trying so hard to destroy our country today. James Baldwin wrote, "One discovers light in darkness. That is what darkness is for. For everything in our lives depends on how we bear the light. It is necessary while in darkness to know that there is a light somewhere, to know that in oneself, waiting to be found, there is a light." A light dawned on me one day long ago. I spoke for a faculty workshop at Iowa Central Community College some years ago. I told the story about meeting a wonderful young woman whose name was Autumn Galanka. She had just graduated from Buena Vista University, where I had come to teach summer school to graduate students in school counseling. When she learned that I was teaching a leadership course, she asked if she could come to my class sometime. I told her, sure, stop in any time. And one day she did. And I asked her if she could talk to our students about diversity, because Autumn was a black woman and the class was made up of milky white school counseling students. Well, Autumn spent the next 30 minutes giving a most beautiful impromptu lesson on diversity. She told them it was not just color or culture, but size and social class and so much more. Then she ended her powerful moment by saying this to the class. "I'm going to leave you with one question. Whose dream are you going to save?" Oh, it was astounding. Well, I told that story to the faculty of the community college for that powerful last line, "Whose dream are you going to save?" In the audience of that faculty group was a classmate of mine, and the next day I received a scathing email from her saying, "How dare you tokenize that woman?" Oh, I was so angry I thought, tokenize? I hadn't even thought of that. In fact, I didn't even answer her because I was so mad. A few months later, I was teaching a class at the University of Northern Iowa. I was walking to class with one of my students who happened to be gay. I asked him if I would be tokenizing him, if I asked him to share with a class of school counseling students how they could be an ally for a gay student who was struggling with their identity or coming out to parents and friends. He said no, because you asked me ahead of time and didn't assume I would be willing to speak for the entire gay population. It was a lightning bolt moment, and I got it. I was so ignorant. I was so conditioned and biased without even realizing it. I wrote to my classmate who had called me out on tokenizing Autumn Galanka and thanked her for teaching me. It was a humbling moment. We can die from the cold within if we are not willing to open our hearts and minds to learning how to love, to be willing to love, and to be open to all. My heart aches for the injustices put on people in our world who are looked down upon because of who they are, for their color, ethnicity, identity, size, and so many other biased reasons. This week, think about your biases. Face them. Then toss your stick of wood on the fire. Let your heart be warm, willing to love and serve for the sake of others. And on your bathroom mirror, write, I will toss my stick in the fire to be a light and warm the way for others. Join me next Monday for Live, Life-Inspired Views for Every Day. I'm Chris Meyer, and I'm a curious soul.